Hey, I'm going to share with you what I feel like is the number one way of gaining financial independence when it comes to investing in real estate. When you invest in real estate, you're looking for a goal, right? Usually you want time freedom, you want money freedom, you want security for your future, all those types of things. And there's a whole lot of issues that arise along the way of trying to get there. And I'm going to share with you what I feel like is the number one way to be able to solve all of those and be able to get to financial independence in record time. My name is Jason Stubblefield. I bought over 1,100 apartment units. And you're probably like, yeah, right. Let me help you out a little bit. So let's do a quick screen share. All right. So I did the work for you, right? Just put in Jason Stubblefield, my name. You can Google my name alone, but if you put in Jason Stubblefield podcast, you can see me, various podcasts, yapping my mouth, talking to people about how I went from 0 to 1,100 units. There's even some in there from when I'm back at 80 units. You got to do your homework right now because there's a whole lot of scammers out there, you know. Anyways, that's me. I've also shared this system with other folks. There's a testimonial page, Ron Butler. I mean, he's over 200 units right now. Emmanuel's at 50 plus units. Trey, they raised over $600,000 on his first deal that he was doing. So some receipts, you know what I mean? Like you gotta have the receipts nowadays. So I wanted to go ahead and share that with you. Let's go over to the whiteboard. So let's get into this and what we're gonna be just discussing for a few minutes today. It's like how the system works, what it does, how you can implement it for yourself. We'll get into all those sort of things. So most people, they start off with their real estate investing in a method similar to this. Side note, I just threw this thing together. I mean, there's some writing on here, you know, you'll get it. My mind works funny at times. But anyway, just stick with me. Most people looking to get financial independence in real estate, they do it like this, right? I'm going to buy enough houses, and once I get to enough houses, I'll have financial independence. And let's just say that number's $10,000. So you're going to buy, one house. And if you crushed it in today's market, at least, right? You found a great deal on today's prices, and you were making $500 a month in cash flow. You're doing pretty good. So if you had $500 a house and say you needed to get to 10,000, well, you need 20 houses. And this is what people they start investing in real estate, but don't necessarily think it all the way through. 20 houses, like that's 20 different closes, 20 different funding opportunities. And then for me, I know when I was in a single family, I could only do about a house a year with just the amount of money I had. So you go from a 20-year financial independence plan, and I want to show you how you can break that down into maybe 2 or 3 years, right? So some people they'll move on from that model. So you know what? I want to get into multifamily, and they'll say, well, I want to buy a fourplex, and a fourplex is great. You know what I mean? It's definitely better than buying one house at a time. So let's say same thing, right? You're getting $500 a door. When you buy a fourplex, the bank will actually treat that as a single family residence. So you can get in with some of those attractive first time home buyer programs. They have FHA loans, 3.5% down that you can do and go get a fourplex. The caveat is you've told the bank that you are going to live in it, right? So you have one unit, say this over here. I like how I got these doorknobs on here, but anyway, side though. You live in one of the units, you have 3 others, and let's just say they're doing $500 a piece, right? You got $1,500 coming in there, and you now have your fourplex. Let's say that you bought it for $400,000, $100,000 a unit. You got a fourplex. There's an issue though. One is, how do you get out of this thing? For me, right, in my real estate career, I never want to go into a property without knowing how I'm going to get out of that property. So if you bought this deal for $400,000, well, how do you ever get out of it? Well, in fourplexes, they're treated like residential. So they are evaluated on the comparable approach, meaning that the bank is going to look at your property and they're going to treat it just like they would everybody else. So they're looking at comps. So they're going to look at every other comp in the area. And if it's around $400,000, then that's what your property value is going to be too. It's going to be $400,000. And you don't necessarily have a way to get out of it. Secondly, is let's say in order to get into this, when you had to take the majority of the capital that you had, all your money, your resources, or whatever, go into this fourplex. Great, you got 4 doors, 1 purchase. Now what? Right now you don't have any more money to go do another deal until you save, and you're almost running into the same situation you had up here when you're just buying one at a time. I mean, you're doing it faster, but you're going to run into some of the same units. So now I want to introduce my solution, right? And that is 5 units. And 5 units and above, it's considered commercial. When I go commercial, no, I'm not talking about retail or even mixed use, right? We really stick to just apartments, but 5 doors and up. So in this example here, what we'll do is we'll say you found 10 units, right? 2 buildings, 5 units in each building. When you go to 5 units, they aren't evaluated on the comparable approach like you are up in the 4 units and the 2 units and the 1 units. When you go to 5, it's evaluated off of the income. So what does that mean? A lender is going to look at this property and they're going to say, well, how much money does the property bring in? And then they're going to evaluate that property based off of that income. All right. So in this scenario, let's say that each unit was renting for $1,000 a unit. So $1,000 a unit, y'all are smart. You can do math. That's $10,000 a month or $120,000 a year. And here is where the cap rate comes into play. So you may have heard about cap rates or whatever. I try to simplify stuff. And I honestly got to do that for me because my mind that's the only way my mind works. Right? It's got to be simple for me, right? So cap rate just means what will somebody be willing to pay for money in that given area. So what is $120,000 a year worth to somebody? Or think about it like this. If you had a store, right, and you say you had a Subway store, and you put that Subway store in Macon, Georgia, for instance. All right, well, okay, it's a Subway store. You would pay money for it. But if you took the same Subway store and you put it in, say, Manhattan, New York, well, how much would you pay for the same Subway store? You pay a lot more, right? And the reason for that is just because of where it's located. So that's where you get these fluctuations in cap rates, but it really boils down to just what is somebody willing to pay for an income stream. All right, enough of that. So let's say we're making $120,000 in this example, and we got $60,000 of expenses. So think about that as utilities. You got to have somebody who cuts the grass. You got taxes, right? You've got expenses. So we're just going to take half of the income and discard that to expenses. Now that would leave you $60,000 in net operating income. All right. Now you get to my sweet handwriting right here. So in this example, let's just say we're using a 6% cap rate. I went ahead and did the math, moved the decimals for y'all. So I'm taking the $60,000, if you follow me, and I'm dividing it by 0.06. Okay, you take a calculator, you put that in. You don't have to take my word for it. You can do the math yourself. But that would be $1 million. So if this 10 unit made gross income $120,000 a unit, $60,000 of expenses, $60,000 in net operating income, and we bought it at a 6 cap, well, that would be $1 million property. See how that works? If you move to a more expensive area, the cap rate might be lower, it might be higher. You can do that. Now, here's where it gets sweet, all right? When you're in the commercial world, because you have the ability to change this income. And as I mentioned before, I don't like going into a property without knowing how I'm going to get out. So let's go ahead and come over here, right? So what we're going to do is say this. I mean, you look at this property. You know what I mean? It's what's happening with my mouse right here. But look at it. I mean, it looks like it could use some work. You know what I mean? So the carpet's dingy. The walls are all white. The appliances are old. You know what I mean? So what we're going to do is we're going to spruce it up. We're going to pretty it up a little bit. And for that, we're going to increase these rents by $150. All right, $150 per unit times our 10 units times 12 months. Annually, we increase the rent income by $18,000. Now, the beauty that happens when you do that, all right, now, not only are we making an extra $18,000 a year, right? That's great. Now we get to capitalize on that Only because we're in the commercial real estate world. If you're in residential, you don't get to do this. Well, now we're going to take that $18,000 and add it to the $60,000 that we were getting. We go ahead, divide by the same cap rate, and that $1 million property becomes $1.3 million. And you just created $300,000 in value. Now, when does that happen? As soon as you sign the lease, the revenue on the property increases the day that they sign it. So if you can go in day one, I mean, this is hypothetical, right? You can't really do all this in a day, but just follow me through the example. As soon as you can get $150 on all these doors, the sooner you can start claiming the $18,000 additional income, and the sooner you make $300,000 in value. Now, it's easier, my opinion, it's easier to do this type of numbers, which if you're looking for $10,000, like we started off with, most people look for $10,000 in monthly income. But if you follow this model right here, you can make $300,000, which is over 2 years of your salary in one multifamily deal. All right. So that's really it. That's the formula that I follow. That's the formula that I teach other people how to do, is how to get into these units, do a value add strategy on them. And once you get to this, now you got options, right? Now you can refinance if you choose to, take some of that money back, put it into another deal. Now you can either sell it, take all of this money, put it into a bigger deal. And this is the process by which you basically do this. If you repeat this 1, 2, 3 times, you're going to find that you're making enough money fast enough to get ahead of the game and actually be able to retire. And so I know what you're saying right now. You're like, well, Jason, I can't find deals like this. They don't exist. And so just real quick, loopnet.com, if you're not familiar, that's a website. It's got a lot of commercial properties on it. I just went to Georgia, did a quick search, put in multifamily. This is what comes up right here. First page. I'll click on that. This is 6 units, $500,000. A lot of y'all are paying $500,000 on single family properties. You know what I mean? Or you're looking for a duplex or a quad or something that's going to be $500,000 or close. You can do this in multiple markets. You don't have to be in your own market. You just have to find the deal and understand the strategy in order to make it happen. So to keep going, like the ways to fund these, like you can do any method that you can do in single family, you can do in multifamily, right? So you can use your own cash, home equity line of credit. You know what I mean? That's how I got started. It was really just taking money out of my home. 401ks, I tapped into my 401k as well in this business. Business credit, seller financing, and other people's money. So here's another thing. Like when you're buying a single family home or a duplex or a quad, there's not enough juice there for anybody to participate with you. So people hear other people's money and they sort of freak out. They think that they're begging other people for money and asking for money. And I was the same way, because I don't even think I borrowed $100 from anybody before in my life. Not because I had money all the time, just because I had a poor circle. You know what I mean? There wasn't anybody to go to really get any money off of. So it was just like, hey, you got to figure it out. And so what I'm getting at, though, is once you understand this, and you are able to tell somebody, hey, I got $300,000 in this multifamily property. Who wants to participate? Who wants to split $300,000 with me? That's a different conversation than, hey, can you loan me some money? Can I borrow some money? You know what I mean? You present the opportunity, and those that are attracted to it will say, yeah. So if you don't have the money through all these vehicles, right? And so if you don't have the money through cash, HELOC, business credit, and you do need to go to other people's money, well, this is a great way to get it, because now you got enough to share. In single family, there's no juice there. Nobody can split your $500, your $500 monthly cash flow, because it's just not enough there. You know what I mean? So I look to employ another method this way so that you can actually have enough juice so that other people will participate with you. And that's where you get into this term you may have heard called syndication. A lot of people freak out about syndication. Let me just tell you what it is briefly. All right. It's mainly you getting other people to invest and protecting yourself legally. All right. The lawyer does all the work. They draft up all the documents. And when you're talking to these investors, instead of just taking somebody's money, you now have legal documentation to give to them to say, I'm legit. That's really all it is. The same principle of you doing a partnership or splitting the deal with other folks. All that comes into play. You just do it under syndication model so that you don't get sued. So I like it actually better than being all willy-nilly and then something goes wrong and now you find yourself in court. You don't want to do that. So that's what the syndication is. And when you're doing a syndication, now you have the ability to take fees. Why are you getting these fees? If I'm telling an investor like, hey, only thing you have to do is just invest in this deal, put $50,000 in this deal, and I'm going to do everything for you. I'm going to find the deal. I'm going to talk to the property managers. I'm going to manage all the upgrades. I'm going to see this project to the finish line, and I'm going to give you money on your money. Well, you're entitled to a fee for doing that, right? So the acquisition fee, I mean, that alone can be 3%. So in our deal here, right, let's say we came over and we did 3% on our $1 million property here, right? So if it's $1 million and we did 3% on that, well, that would be $30,000. So day one, I'm talking about the day you put this deal together and close, you can walk away with $30,000 in income. Not to mention you can do asset management fee, which could be about 2%. You participate in the cash flow, so part of whatever is left over out of that $60,000, depending on how you split the deal, you can participate in that. And when you sell it, you can also put on a disposition fee, which could be 1%, 2%, or something like that. So you win by managing the deal and getting paid for it. Your investors win by being able to invest alongside you and not having to do anything, right? Because a lot of people, they're busy. You know what I mean? They're busy doing it. And so if you go back to this property I brought up here, right? You don't have to be Grant Cardone and go out and do, 300 unit property in order to make fair amount of money in this business with syndication. So the reason for you to get into this, right, is that you can avoid so much, right? You can avoid so much headache and time that it really takes you in order to make this happen, just by understanding this business, understanding what it can do for you and its ability to be able to change your life and really allow you to move faster when it comes to investing in real estate. So if you look at all of that, hey, you can take the 20-year plan, right? I was on the 20-year plan. I was looking at, I wasn't even doing $500 a door. I was getting like $300 a door. And I'm like, this is insanity, right? I'm never going to make it. This is what I feel like is a way that allowed me to retire myself early, retire my wife early, and it's what I try to share with people. So if you want more information about how all this works, subscribe to this channel, right? There's plenty of information there. And if you want more like guided direction, mentorship, if you're serious about it, then there should be a link or somewhere you can go ahead and apply and see how that works with us. Obviously it is an investment, right? So it's not necessarily free, but you can do this and you can really change your life, right? You can see for what you can learn to do and how quickly it will change your path as far as a real estate investor. I think it might be worth it. So anyways, check it out. If not, still enjoying the content. I'll be dropping more. See you later. Take care.